Welcome back to the channel, everybody. I am Flash, and thank you again for joining me for another Marvel Snap video. Appreciate y'all coming back as often as you do. If you want to hit the like button, I'd appreciate it. Help things moving along. That'd be very much appreciated. So today we have the brand new patch notes have dropped. The April 18th patch notes. It's very exciting. This has been some time coming. A lot of people are excited for some of the things that are going to be in this patch notes. Shuri nerfs. I haven't read any of it. Kind of want to do it, I guess, kind of live, quote unquote reaction, if you will. I'm just as excited as everybody else. Quick point. Yesterday, at this time of recording, we got the news about Kitty Pryde. So those of you that haven't already heard, which I'm sure most of you have at this point, but for current Kitty Pryde owners, they will be getting compensated. I'm giving you the short version. They will be compensated 8,000 tokens for everything that happened. So they're getting refunded, and kind of, I guess, that $2,000 we're sorry for what happened and how long you've been without the card or the 6,000 tokens that you spent on the card. They're still they've reworked the card. It used to read, now again, I'm paraphrasing on top of my head, so I'm not reading this off anything. It used to read +1 when you return it to your hand. You can return it to your hand every turn, and you get +1 every time you return it to your hand. It's a 1-0. So they've changed it because it broke the game, because intrinsically the game was not supposed to function. That interaction was not supposed to be part of the game in that way. They just didn't design it that way. So as opposed to rewriting the entire code of the game, just going to change the card a little bit. Whereas now, still a 1-0, it now reads, when returned to your hand, flat, kind of hard stop, gains +2 power. So again, Beast, Falcon, whatever returns that card back to your hand, it will gain +2 power. And then a subline text after that is, the card will return to your hand every turn, right? So a little bit of a design change, largely still functioning, doing the same thing. It just now you can't control if you want to leave her out there. You can't. The game, if you play it, it's going to come back to your hand at the end of that turn or the beginning of the next turn, whichever. Anyway, so Kitty Pryde has changed. Things have been resolved. Pretty much everybody's happy. I would say 95% of the people are happy, because you're always going to have that small percentage that's like, oh, I'm still upset about something. So it is what it is. So again, these patch notes, these patch notes everybody's been waiting for. It's been like Christmas. Okay, so we're all very excited. I'm going to dig in here in a second. Quick point. I also wanted to talk about video I got coming, an update to, I've been working on my control everything. If you've seen that, check out that video of my control deck that I put together. I have been working on it, tweaking it, optimizing it. So stay tuned for that. I got some more stuff coming. All right. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into these patch notes here. So I'm on MarvelSnapZone.com because, the main website naturally doesn't have that stuff available. So let's just get right into it. First thing, token shop updates. So weekly spotlight. When a new Series 5 card is released, it will be immediately featured in its own section for its first week in Marvel Snap. I feel like we had heard about this, but I guess it's going live. Once you buy the weekly spotlight card, this section will be hidden until the next new card is released. Okay, so the weekly, right, gotcha. If you want the newest cards at released, here's what you've been waiting for. Perfect. So this takes away all that guesswork of trying to get back into your shop, resetting and you missing out on the card, and especially for the big creators, missing that 8-hour window and having to wait for it to cycle back in. All that's gone. Boom, problem solved. Ultimate variants are some of the most epic variants in the game. Yes, but they cost too much. We felt they deserved their own section too. We're moving ultimate variants out of the way of seeing Series 4 and 5 cards and into their own rotation for those of you who want to make your decks that much cooler. Perfect. Again, stuff that we've heard about, because most of us don't buy these ultimate variants. So when you see them cycle into your token shop, you're like, oh, I'm not buying it. Some of them you're like, oh man, that's dope. I would love it. I've seen the Gamora one like 4 times in the past few weeks. I'm like, can I just can you give me something else? Like, can you give me a card I can use? But I'm holding out for other stuff anyway. But again, I digress. So Series 4 and Series 5. This section functions nearly the same as previously, but only Series 4 and 5 cards. Sorry. But only Series 4 and 5 cards. This section will feature a card you don't own from all currently available Series 4 or 5 cards and rotates every 8 hours. Series 5 cards will be added to this section once they leave the weekly spotlight. Okay. See, here's the problem with me reading as I go along. I ain't got ADD, so it's like I read it and I'm like, yeah, I didn't catch most of it, but section, yeah, it's fine. This is the stuff, like I said, we've heard about before, and now it's just, you know, you got Series 4, Series 5 rotating, great, and throwing in the Series 5 after they leave the spotlight, great, perfect. No complaints. This is all the advertisers. Game board update. We made some updates to our game board. Check out the new art and effects. That's cool. Can't wait to see what that is. Inconsequential, but I'm sure cool for the life cycle of the game. Okay, okay, let me take a sip here. Seasonal series drop. These we knew about. Some cards have dropped down to a lower series. So if you didn't know, cards going from Series 5 to Series 4, Ghost, Stature, MODOK. None of those cards you still want to buy use 3,000 tokens for. Stature, maybe. And MODOK, if you were a hardcore discard player and you didn't get them in the season pass, which those two things to me, if you're that much of a discard player, you bought the season pass with MODOK in it. That's my opinion. I think I would think so. If you didn't and you've been holding out, I think 3,000 tokens is a good price point for you to get a card that is pretty important to that archetype. It can go without it, I'll say, but it definitely takes it up a notch. And of course, the ones that most people had their more eye on, the cards going from Series 4 to Series 3, that of course being Shuri, Bast, Valkyrie, Super Skrull, Black Panther. Shuri is still okay. Well, again, I don't know what the rest of the patch notes are, but Shuri was obviously, that would be your auto claim. That dropped into your shop today and you saw that in the free claim, you could want to go ahead and get that if you didn't have Shuri already. Most players have Shuri. I'm looking at Bast. I don't have Bast, Valkyrie, Super Skrull, right? So I'm looking at Bast. That card does a lot in a lot of different decks, and a lot of decks that I like. I like Flood decks, I like Sarah decks. It fits, you know, I'm big fan. I'm having a lot of fun with Hitmonkey. It fits in a lot of decks I like, so I'm very, you know, I want to get my hands on Bast. Valkyrie, great tech card. Super Skrull, you know, still hasn't found its place in the meta. When ongoing becomes a thing in the meta again, Super Skrull will have its place. And Black Panther it's fine. It's a fine enough card. It belongs where it's at now, finally, in Series 3. All right, general updates. Players that reach infinite rank will only match against other infinite rank players. Great. When you tap on a card for more details in the shop or collection, the card detail screen now features artist credits, card series label, example Series 3, 4, or 5. Okay, that's great. And variant rarity label. Example, rare, super rare, or ultimate. That's dope. That last part lets you believe there's some more things coming down the pipe, but that's for another time. The card series label, that's great, because how many times have you gone into your deck, or you gone through your collection, and like, I'm not even sure what Series 4 or 5. And sometimes that matters, because sometimes you're just like, what do I have? What do I don't have? Or I know for me, being a content creator, I'm like, I'm eyeing decks where I'm like, I want to put together a Series 3 only deck. And I don't want to have to keep going back and forth between these sources to figure out, dang, what's Series 4 again? Is this card still in Series 4? I forgot, I'm not sure. This is going to make it very simple. I love it. The artist credits right there, perfect. That's great too. Love that. All right, when inspecting cards in game, you can now flip them to see the card back in full detail. We've also updated other areas of viewing card backs to show their 3D details. Okay, that's dope, I guess. Contextually for the game, not necessary, unless it's going to have some sort of information on the card back that's relevant. But otherwise, I feel like those are resources you could have spent doing something else. But again, whatever. After roughly 10 hours of gameplay in a day, players will stop earning Season Pass XP from gameplay for the remainder of the day. Interesting. So I guess that's kind of the developer's way of saying, you know, okay, you can only do but so much in a day. You can't grind forever daily. There's a cap on this, and I guess that kind of helps people farming the Season Pass caches, which I guess that was a problem on higher levels was a problem, but I can dig it. I can definitely dig that. That's a way to mitigate that problem. Problem solved, I guess, or problem addressed on some level. Collection track level has been extended. Okay. Personally, I don't know what the I don't know what the max on it was, but okay. Some people that's relevant. You know, the people who've been playing since beta might be getting close to maxed out, whatever the track max was. Audio, new card sounds for Squirrel Girl. I guess she's got it. Okay, it says in parentheses drag, so she's got like a drag sound. Okay, that's cool. New location sounds for Camp Lehigh. Okay, again, I mostly play with this. Oh, you know what? I can actually, that's one of the things that somehow I noticed. Sometimes I play with the sound on, music like pretty much off, but Camp Lehigh, every time it has this animation, it's got the horn, I always thought to myself, shouldn't this location have some sort of sound? It's got a horn animation that goes off, and I'm like, where's the sound? There it is. Added VO support for Thai and Indonesian. Okay. Okay, here we go. The balance updates in the wake of our last balance change. We saw the metagame settle into a much healthier shape than it had been before. However, we were too shallow with our adjustments to the Shuri Taskmaster decks and Lockjaw Leech Shells, both with and without Thanos. I'm glad they addressed that. Have remained solid contenders. Today's changes aim to push both of those decks off of their clear top spots. Outside of Shuri Taskmaster, the metagame is looking healthy on our internal metrics, which is mostly true. Everything people are doing different things. Now, I will say I have beef with Galactus. In my climb where I'm sitting in the mid 90s right now, starting from 70, and Shuri hasn't been a problem for me. What's been a problem for me? Galactus. I can't tell you how many Galactus decks. If I was playing on my PC and I was logging it, I'd be able to show you the numbers, but I don't do that stuff on my phone. And most of the time I'm playing on my phone. All right. Let us get into it. Card updates. Shuri. First up. Previous 4-2 on reveal, double the power of the next card you play. Okay, new update. 4-2 on reveal. If you play your next card here, double its power. Thank you. That's all they needed to do. There've been different things going around. I think I liked that one the most. Yeah. Make them play the card in the Shuri lane. It retains what it's doing, but it makes it super predictable. Okay? Love that. Love that. Developer comments. We considered a number of changes to Shuri, but they all tended to ruin her current decks. Fair. Some even theoretically risk making a new monster with different parts. That's not a great risk to run when balancing a problematically strong card. That's fair. The change we're making today may seem small and subtle, but we expect it to be impactful and retain the same flow of play for her existing decks, which is a consistent goal in our balance philosophy. This nerf removes Cosmo's protective capacity for her target. Yes, it does. Makes single card answers like Valkyrie easier to aim. Yep. And indirectly buffs lane control elements like Professor X. Heck yeah. We're taking a risk here in that this nerf could leave Shuri still a strength outlier. If so, we'll react quickly. That's fair. That addresses the main problem to a degree without obliterating what the card does, which is a fine line on which you can't leader anything. Now forever that's going to be a verb. You can't leader a card because it removes it. Leader is invisible. Nobody even thinks about that card anymore. I see that card once every like couple hundred games, and I'm usually sure it's by accident or a bot. So whatever. Addressed. We'll see how things shape out, but I think this is a huge change, big time, because it makes it super predictable where they're going with the next card. Even if they skip a turn and try to do that thing, you can still hit it with whatever it is, whatever you're trying to. You want to Professor, like they said, Professor X, whatever. Love it. Leech. God, I hope this is good, because we weren't expecting a change to Leech. Honestly, most people I would assume were fully like, they're not going to do anything to Leech. Previous 5/3 on reveal, remove the abilities from all cards in your opponent's hand. Ugh. Update 5/3, still a 5/3. At the start of turn 6, remove all abilities from cards in your opponent's hand. Okay. Okay. Yeah. That's all we wanted. This is the same. This is doing the same, a similar thing to a lot of people's suggestions where like just have it work for one turn. But I like this because it and I don't even have to read the developer comments. I know what they wanted to do with this card. They want this ability to hit on turn 6. That's the point. That's where Leech's usability lies, in stopping your opponent from flooding the board on turn 6, doing these big Sarah Miracle turns. Doing those type of things is why Leech exists. So to prevent your opponent from doing that, you just want them to be able to stop them from doing it on turn 6. People that cheating out Leech on turn 3, turn 4, come on. This is good. This is great. I'm gonna read developer comments anyway, but this is great because this is what we want. Just have Leech work for one turn on turn 6. Period. That's what he's designed to be used for. End of story. It's never been our goal for Leech to be a heavily played card, and we understand that's been a frustration lately. When it's happening, it usually means a finisher is generically strong against pure power, like Leech Leader, and or a deck can play Leech earlier than turn 5 too often, like Lockjaw Thanos. We've tried in the past to weaken the stronger cards in those decks, but it's been a balance and design obstacle. Thus, we've decided to remove the early Leech, quote unquote, from the equation. That was the big problem. Leech is designed to counter some powerful endgame cards and combinations from a unique angle without any setup, which is important to have around in the event those decks begin to overperform. This change should let him fulfill that role when necessary without ever making him a foundational piece of the metagame. It's fine. Hey, listen, Leech players, you still want to cheat Leech out on turn 4 or turn 3? Go ahead. Leech is not. He's not ongoing. He's no longer an on reveal. This is just an on card text. Yeah, he'll just be sitting there. Okay, and then your opponent now has to play around with. Okay, I got to get my stuff out before turn 6 now because Leech is on the board. But that now works against you if you want to cheat him out early. Now you still have to play him on 5. Turn 5 is still where Leech needs to be played. Because if you play him earlier than that, you're tipping off your hand. Now your opponent's like, I got to dump my hand before turn 6. So I like the back and forth that this creates now. Lockjaw. That's unexpected. Lockjaw, previously a 3/2 with on card text that read, after you play a card here, swap it with a card in your deck. Right? Very Quantum Tunnel. Update, still a 3/2. Now reads, after you play a card here, swap it with a card in your deck once per turn. Oh ho ho. Oh, ho, 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 ho. Good night, Thanos Lockjaw. So if you're playing Thanos, find another way to play Thanos. There's plenty of other ways to play Thanos. First of all, Thanos is unique in a way where you can play it control, you can play it ongoing, you can play death. Thanos death is a huge thing. It doesn't have to be Lockjaw Thanos. They're a little late to the Lockjaw Thanos party on nerfing it, but it does hit some of the other Lockjaw. I'm curious to see what the comments say. Let's get into this. Lockjaw is a fun and exciting card, but each trigger of this good boy basically draws a card and generates, quote unquote, up to 6 energy at random. Yeah, that's a lot of variance to have in multiple competitive decks. As we add cards, new and improved ways to sidestep Lockjaw's risks will also become available. Since we believe the most powerful and frustrating use of Lockjaw is triggering him multiple times in a turn, often with a snap along the way, we're changing that. Limiting Lockjaw to one swap each turn forces the player to develop their board without letting them sprint ahead or spring a late surprise. This will make Lockjaw simpler to play against and less potent in decks incidentally playing lots of cheap cards like Thanos. Yeah, makes sense. I like it. It would have been nice if this came like a few weeks ago ish. I don't know, because Lockjaw Thanos, I don't know, it's still a thing though. It's still a thing, so this definitely helps mitigate that. America Chavez, that's not a name I expected to see here. I love this. Previous 6/9, you always draw this card on turn 6 and not before. Update, still a 6/9. Starts on the bottom of your deck. Draw this on turn 6. Wow. So let's deep into why that's so interesting. Because let's say you're Yondu, right? How many Yondu players out there? Not the Galactus ones. You Galactus Yondu players, you can kick rocks. But so many of them were like, always hit Chavez, because she was intrinsically, for the most part, it was written where it's kind of like, yeah, she's kind of usually always on the top of your deck, pretty much, without being said that she is. That's an interesting change. Let's read. Previously, if you were about to draw America Chavez, you would just draw your next card instead, which was great for flooding, helping your curve, right? Did this just kill America Chavez? Look, this means that over the course of the game, she's a lot more likely to be the top card of your deck. Thus far, this has been largely unimportant outside of Yondu. But it does restrict our ability to print cards that interact with the top of your deck. Ironclad, Howard the Duck, right? We expect this update to have little impact on America Chavez's functionality overall. I disagree heartily, because a lot of the reason you play America Chavez is to I'm not sure. It depends on how this functions. Because, well, okay, wait. No, let me take that back. I was wrong. Because now that she starts on the bottom and you always draw her on 6, she's always going to be on the bottom, which means those 11 cards, the percentage is still increased of you pulling the other cards. Okay. That still remains the same. Okay, I can dig that. Now what interrupts this is Cable, right? Now Cable's gonna have the the America Chavez problem. Before it was Yondu, now it's gonna be Cable, because Cable pulls from the bottom. I love it. This is great. All right, fine, whatever. I play Chavez sometimes. Some of the decks I'll put Chavez in. It's whatever. Jubilee, another name I did not expect to see here. Love this. Let's keep it going. Previously, 4/1 with on reveal, add a card from your deck to this location. Right. Update 4.1 on reveal. Add the top card of your deck to this location. Okay, so see, now that they've changed America Chavez, they can now change Jubilee. I think Jubilee used to read this what her text used to read. So now that the Chavez interaction is not funking, it's kind of gone now. Now Jubilee can pull that top card, which is better for what the card is doing. Now you're like, okay, the top card was this. Perfect. I got that rock out of the way, which you still don't want Jubilee to hit a rock, but you would rather that than still like a free draw. It's still a free draw. Just depending on what happens with it, it's sometimes not great. Let's see what they say here about Jubilee. Some of our players may remember a time when Jubilee had this ability. Back then, Jubilee would often be a 4/10 as she'd pull America Chavez very consistently. Alright. We decided at the time to change Jubilee's effect instead of America Chavez's, as the former was a much simpler change to communicate. However, we're looking to design cards that interact with the top of your deck in the future. And I guess I mentioned Iron Lad and Howard the Duck before. There's probably more coming. So we're bringing this deck design back too. We expect this update to have little impact on Jubilee for the time being, which is true. Leader! Uh-oh. Is Leader getting a buff? Oh? Previous 6/7 with on reveal, copy all cards your opponent played to the location right of here, but on your side. Right? The silly thing that they changed it to that most people still couldn't understand and killed the card. Update back to a 6/2. Was he 6/2 before? I think it was 6/2 before. On reveal, copy the enemy card or cards with the highest power played this turn but on your side. Okay. That's not bad. That's an okay in between. Kind of. Now it's just gonna take the big. Now if your opponent plays cards that are the same power, which would be awkward for them to do, but it would copy everything. But if it's just whatever the biggest card is, it's gonna copy it on your side in whatever lane. Period. End of story. Much easier to understand. I do think the power could use an adjustment though. Not obvious. Coming down from 6/7 is necessary, but maybe 6/3. We were clearly too harsh on Leader with his previous nerf, and we're dismayed that action became a go-to example for how ruinous a nerf can be. Correct. Our balanced philosophy is to preserve as much playability as we reasonably can when weakening cards, and we didn't succeed here previously. With this change, we're aiming to bring his strength back up to a playable spot for a 6-cost card, but still avoid the oppressive impact his original form had. Yeah, we have erred on the cautious side with the power for now because some previous defenses against the original Leader, such as playing weaker cards before a strong one, no longer apply. Okay, I can dig it. Yeah, this makes the card now people will say, okay, let me try to use Leader again, because now I can do something with this. So expect to see some Leader in these next few days here. Then we got some bug fixes. I'll read them. Why not? Let's look. This is a full breakdown, right? We're here for it. The game no longer crashes on some Android devices when switching languages. There is no longer an infinite loop if Morph spawns randomly, e.g. via X Mansion, and copies Kang. Great. It didn't never happen to me, but I've heard about it. The Series 3 token shop should now display properly when you have collected all Series 3 cards. Tapping duplicate Kangs in play while the turn is rewinding should no longer cause the card to disappear. Spotlight cards in the Season Pass UI can now be focused by tapping anywhere on the card. Credit and gold deep linking should now navigate to the shop from the reward mission detail view. Okay. UI elements such as the avatar menu and emoji should no longer be clickable when viewing a card's details in game. Moving a card in the details view and releasing should no longer close the details view. Okay, look. Now I'm just gonna breeze through this. The raft should no longer. Okay, I'm gonna. Most of you, this is not a problem for you. Known issues list. Sandman Electro may not visually show the power on a location if the location is locked down. These are issues that are things that are still going to be an issue, apparently. Well, okay. So that's it. That's the long and short of it. I think overall it's a thumbs up. It's a thumbs up here. They didn't necessarily do anything. Didn't take any egregious big swings. Shuri got hit appropriately. Adjustments to America Chavez, adjustments to Jubilee. Things we're not sure we needed. Do we need buffs throughout the cards? And yes, but I think these OTA updates, these weekly updates that they're going to be test running, those should help with some of these buffs that, because a lot of the cards just kind of need a little bit of a power adjustment, heck, even maybe a cost adjustment, right? Let's let them play around with that before we jump on the bandwagon of there weren't enough changes here. Leech got hit. Okay, great. Look, Shuri got hit, Leech got hit, Leader got readjusted, which is a great thing. We want to see cards not get nerfed into oblivion. You know, we got those interaction adjustments, like I said, for Jubilee, America Chavez. Lockjaw got hit. Come on. What more could you ask for than that? Unless you're a Lockjaw player that likes to really take advantage of the Lockjaw, but this is great. To me, I love it. I love the direction with how they handled this. Again, I can't speak any more volumes about how much I enjoy this game and how much I think this game, these developers continue to listen to the community, hear the community, most importantly, and act accordingly, whether it's in the moment, whether it's, hey, we are listening, we got that on the, it's on the docket. They're making these adjustments. They've got OTA changes, compensation for broken cards. They're doing the things that they need to do to keep the consumer base happy, in my opinion. Sans card acquisition. Okay, but that's a different conversation. That's a different problem that I think over the long term of the game might mitigate itself. And I know what you're like, oh, well, but more cards are going to be a game. It's just going to continue to be cards that are hard to get. Yes, but as they also introduce new modes, that'll start to make the card acquisition feel far less abrasive. But again, or they could just adjust it somewhat. Little tweaks here and there. We'll see. But again, kudos to Second Dinner. Kudos to everybody working on this game, and I love it. Looks it. It hasn't even been a year since global release. Right? We're still 6 months away from the year anniversary of global release. So that's all I got to say. It's great. Continue enjoying the game. Have fun. Don't grind away to the point where you're not enjoying the game anymore. Play the game to as much as you want to play. If you have goals, set goals. Hey, I want to reach 60. I want to reach 70. That's your goal. Bam. Whatever. Don't stress about it. Hitting infinite is not everything. Okay. It's just cool. And if that's fine for you, then go ahead, go for it. But just know it's going to be a slog. Especially once you hit 90. Once you're in that 90 range, you start seeing, man, man. All right, that's it. I'm done. Thank you guys for joining me. This has been great. And I love this little bit of support I got coming from y'all. I appreciate that. Like I said, if you like the video, subscribe. If you appreciate the content that I'm giving you here. This has been another Marvel Snap video. I am Flash, and I will catch you guys next time. Peace.